Bob Mueller has a surprise press conference and says absolutely nothing new, but Dems still decide it's time to impeach. Some guy sets himself on fire in front of the White House, and probably the dumbest story in the week if the other two didn't accomplish the task. Special news, the news cycle is beginning to heat up a little bit. This is Gene, and you're listening to Dumbasses Talking Politics. This story I really don't care about, and for some reason I spent a really long time talking about it, and I don't know why I did that, but it seems like it was the biggest thing when I started writing the script, and it was, to be honest with you. There really isn't a heck of a lot to talk about until tonight. Things have actually gone downhill. We're going to talk a little bit about that, about what has happened tonight. I need to find out a little bit more information. But Bob Mueller decided to hold a surprise news conference yesterday. It was short, about 9 minutes, 30 seconds, and he took no questions. He walked out there, said something to the press, all read off paper, and did nothing outside of that. It was over. I'm not going to actually play his statement because it was 10 minutes long. I'm not going to waste 10 minutes. I don't think what he said was really important. If you read the 450-page report, here's the good news. It was the same as the 454-page report. There was just nothing there. In a nutshell, Mueller explained that he was doing it for the last, what he was doing for the last 2 years, how and why the report was written, and that he's done. He said he would not answer any questions. He would not appear in front of Congress because everything's in the report. He's never going to go outside of the report. He had announced he was closing his office. He had announced that everyone was gone. He was going to go to regular life. He was done. Finito, kaput, finished. That's it. He didn't give Trump any love in this little statement. He said he made sure everyone understood that he never exonerated Trump, which, we'll get to that. And he said his office, he said something really quite amazing. I was really curious about it. He said the Office of Legal Counsel, which is the OLC, released a memo, and this was back in 1973, by the way, about not being able to indict a sitting president. Now, again, this was a 1973 memo. It's not a law. It's just a 1973 memo. He said charging the president with a crime, therefore, is not an option we could consider. So, wow. Basically, he's saying that he couldn't investigate because he wasn't allowed to. He couldn't investigate any crimes because he wasn't allowed to investigate any crimes. He says he wrote the report. He stands by the report. People should read the report. Hint, hint, hint. Hint, 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 Democrats, because I don't think any of them read the report. There's a dog whistle to Congress. Of course, the left absolutely flipped out. They released a statement that pretty much sums up why Mueller had this press conference. Here's Jerry Nadler.
The special counsel has clearly demonstrated that President Trump is lying. He is lying about the special counsel's findings, lying about the testimony of key witnesses in the special counsel's report, and above all, lying in saying that the special counsel found no obstruction and no collusion.
First off, I don't even understand what this guy's saying. He's just insane. No, he's not insane. He's just lying. I read the report. There's nothing in the report that proves anything. How Trump or Barr can lie about what is in the report is insane because anyone can read the report. You can buy it on Amazon. You can do anything with the report. It's free online. it makes me wonder if this dunderhead actually read the bloody report. Nadler goes over Mueller's 3 points. Goes over 3 points that Mueller pointed out, that Mueller actually talked about. And I want to be clear that if you go to dumbassestalkingpolitics.com, you can actually see the entire interview. I wasn't going to let you make you suffer through a whole 5 minutes, all 5 minutes of his press conference. Mueller has 3 points. He did not exonerate Trump. Trump may have obstructed justice, and that it's Congress's responsibility to take action. Those are the 3 points. The no exoneration thing is the report. I'm not sure why no exoneration is a thing. Trump may have wanted to obstruct, but he didn't. He never fired Mueller. Firing Comey was not obstruction. Comey was an idiot. Nobody took him serious when he ordered others to, when those other people were ordered to fire Trump. Remember, his lead lawyer was told to fire Mueller. He never fired Mueller. And he still had a job after. He never prevented anyone from being interviewed by Mueller, and the Trump administration handed over millions of documents. Okay, he bitched a lot. He threw temper tantrums. He wanted to fire him. So what? Also, there is a little thing about the law. There needs to be intent if you're going to intent to cover up some sort of guilt. In other words, there has to be a crime before you can start obstructing justice. He has to intend to actually obstruct justice. That's the law. He didn't. And Mueller said this in his report. It's in his report. The only thing that Barr and Mueller really disagreed about was the intent thing. The intent thing, Mueller did not even acknowledge it in the report. But meanwhile, legally, no, there's intent. You gotta really want to obstruct justice for a reason. And it wasn't there. There wasn't any because there was no crime and there was no cover-up. Trump looked like an idiot in that report. He's got a temper. He says things he shouldn't be saying. He talks a lot of garbage. But he didn't cover anything up. And for anyone to believe that he actually went out there to blow things out, no, it didn't happen. The third point about Congress needing to get involved is exactly right. He wants Mueller wants Congress to impeach. He said it in his report. He is saying it right now. It's like he's reminding Democrats. And Dems all know it. Listen to Nancy Jaws Pelosi talk about Trump after the press conference.
Important to advancing our getting the facts for the American people, getting the truth for the American people. Where they will lead us, we shall see. Nothing is off the table. But we do want to make such a compelling case, such an ironclad case, that even the Republican Senate, which at the time seems to be not an objective jury, will be convinced of the path that we have to take as a country.
Ah, yes. The old everything's on the table cliche. I do want to notice something about both responses. They all seem kind of nervous. They both seem very nervous, very uncomfortable in these press conferences. I'm going to tell you why in a second. Here's the truth. Here's what's happening. Mueller had a press conference to wake the Dems up and remind them that his report is a blueprint to impeachment. I read this report. He never actually had any proof of anything. The whole
the whole conspiracy thing, that was blown out of the water. Trump wasn't even mentioned in it. That was 190 pages that had nothing to do with Trump. The rest of the report, the 230 pages, maybe you might be able to find something, but there's a kicker with that stuff, which I'll bring up in just a second. The left seems to be waiting for Mueller to pull a unicorn out of his butt and get Trump out of the White House and into a jail cell. That's what they're really pushing for. Mueller has nothing else. He's telling them to go forward. He's telling them he has no responsibility. He's done. Mueller hates Trump with a passion. He wants to make a mess of his presidency. He's not a good guy. He did this for 2 years. But now he's done. And now he's done. There's nothing there. And he wants Congress to take the reins. I also think Mueller may want to create chaos to protect his buddies, may have wanted to create this chaos to protect his buddies in the FBI and CIA. Comey and Brennan are in big trouble. At least one of them is. One of them lied in front of Congress. They contradicted each other. And we won't even talk about McCabe, Strzok, all of those other people. And now the DOJ is investigating into some of the questionable behavior that includes the FBI, the CIA, all the way up to the Obama administration. They are not even leaving Barack Obama out of this right now. Some folks that I listen to, like Dan Bongino, even think Mueller's investigation may have been put together to clean up some of the mess, especially with the FISA courts, especially with the Strzok emails. The FISA court is an absolute disaster. The Steele dossier is an absolute disaster. We know this now. The question is, how much of a disaster is it? I would probably take someone like Bongino and say, okay, you're being a conspiracy theorist, but there are a couple things that really are bothering me now. One, the lack of acknowledgement by Mueller of the Steele dossier. This Steele dossier was kind of important. You would think it would be mentioned more than 3 times in the report. 3 or 4 times. I think it was 4 times. But it was mentioned, and it was a glancing mention. 2, that it took Mueller 2 years for this investigation. Did it really take 2 years? I was studying law for a while, and I know, I'm not a lawyer, by the way, but I already know that, okay, nothing to see here, move on to something else. And the third are the FISA warrants. The FISA applications are about to be declassified, which means everyone can see all FISA warrants and all email. Yet the media, specifically CNN, MSNBC, CBS, NBC, ABC, nobody wants them released. News organizations do not want information? That's just weird. It sure seems like there is some sort of conspiracy there. And it's weird, but I'm not so sure it's a conspiracy theory anymore. It seems like there's something here. And everyone in the swamp, which I also always had a problem with, it seems like everyone in the swamp is really kind of worried that this stuff is going to be found out. So you know what? There's going to be a lot more to this story. Mueller's surprise news conference really didn't mean anything. Okay? But here's something that really, really puts Democrats in a bad spot. Okay? He screwed the Dems. He sat back and is forcing them to choose impeachment. Now, maybe he's doing this because he's smarter than Dems, and I got to be honest with you, he probably is. Because here's the thing, the Dems also realize that they're not going to win in 2020 if they go through another impeachment hearing and it ends up to be nothing. I'd be shocked if anyone listened to it. Moderate Democrats like Pelosi don't want impeachment. They remember what happened with Bill Clinton when he got impeached. And Bill Clinton committed 11 different crimes in that impeachment. He had actual crimes. When he left office, Bill Clinton had to answer for those crimes. He was disbarred. He had to pay fines. There were no crimes mentioned in this report. None. Zero. Matter of fact, they kept saying the same thing. We can't prove anything. I did read the report. Again, I did read the report. It was the same thing. Well, we can't exonerate him, but... And then the evidence that they presented wasn't really evidence. It makes me wonder, again, did these people actually read the report? It's 450 pages. It gives you an outline of how to try to impeach Trump. But nothing in that report says that he did anything impeachable. I don't know why I'm getting excited about this. I shouldn't, because it's just so dumb. But we're not going to learn anything right now. We are seriously not going to learn anything right now. It's going to be time. Yesterday, to be honest with you, was irrelevant. It made no difference. Mueller did not say anything different than what he usually says. He just said everything. He basically summarized in 9 minutes and 34 seconds what he had said in 450 pages. There was nothing different in there. And here's the trip. Everyone's thinking, oh, well, there's a crime. There's a crime. This is the guilty before proven innocent problem that the Democrats have. And they'll lose every time. It's never going to work. Yeah, there was some bad behavior. Bad behavior is not a crime. Trump never fired Mueller. Trump never told anyone to not be interviewed by Mueller. The report was written and the report was released. For Jerry Nadler to say that Trump lied is craziness. That Barr lied, because he actually, in that interview, he actually said Barr lied too. Well, they released the report. Why would... If Barr lied about the report, that means that you can read the report and say Barr lied. They didn't do that. They didn't read the report. There is literally in a SCIF, which is a security area, in a SCIF in Congress, 1% of the Mueller report is redacted. They can read practically the entire, they can read 99% of the Mueller report. They won't do it. They know because their narrative is dead. And what's really scary for them, now the CIA, the DOJ, the FBI, the Obama administration are now under investigation by a guy who knows how to investigate. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. This is so special. So sweet. I love it. Okay, well, let's get to the next part. It's the tragedy in Washington, D.C. Yesterday I mentioned that a man set himself on fire in front of the White House. I assumed that this guy was doing it for political purposes, but I refuse to talk about it. I guess I'm learning something here. Well, I'm glad I didn't bring it up yesterday. I'm glad I didn't sit there and say anything yesterday, because it really is kind of tragic, and it really points out another problem with our system. The video can be seen on dumbassestalkingpolitics.com. There's no sound except for people cussing and screaming and really upset. And it's a brutal video. So you've been warned. If you decide to go and look at it, you can. The video is from TMZ.com. The reason I'm glad I didn't talk about it is the man died last night. And it sounds like he just may have been mentally ill, and this was a suicide. His name was Arnav Gupta from Maryland. His family actually reported him missing yesterday morning, early, and they feared for his physical and emotional well-being. Authorities have not released any motive for doing something like this. And I'm not so sure we're ever going to hear a motive. I didn't see really much new in the news. But God bless him. And I hope it wasn't a suicide. I hope he did this for a reason. I think it's just terrible. But I also think you should pardon me for my thoughts about it. The reason I thought this is, guy 2 months earlier actually set himself on fire, and he did that for a reason. He, in front of the White House, he decided to set himself on fire, but whatever it is. It's just, that's sad. And then when I actually if you look at the video, he wasn't that close to the White House. He was actually in a park across from the White House. So it wasn't like he was standing at the gate and he decided to light himself on fire. I hope we find something out about him. The dumb story of the day. This is great. I love it. No, I don't love it. I take it back. I actually spent several paragraphs figuring out why this is so stupid. Donald Trump just got back from Japan, just in time for the New York Times to report that Trump ordered that the USS John McCain needed to stay out of sight. Pictures of the ship show it partially covered by a tarp. As usual, the New York Times kind of got it wrong. Apparently, and I'm assuming here because all the stories I've read have all been different, and I'm not really sure what's true or not. But I do know, I'll tell you what is true. Someone from the White House asked the Navy to hide the ship because they thought that him honoring the destroyer USS John McCain would upset Trump. Trump didn't know anything about it. The New York Times actually said that Trump ordered it, and that wasn't true. And that's according to the White House, and that's according to the U.S. Navy. The ship is in Japan for repairs due to an attack by a terrorist attack that killed a couple of soldiers. The ship did have a tarp on it, and the crew did have the day off. And the crew, a lot of the New York Times suspected, is because they wear hats that say USS John McCain. They didn't want to set Trump off. What is unclear is why. But the ship was docked, not really hidden. It was with all the other USS, the United States Navy ships. Trump had some comments about the controversy, and you'll find out what I'm thinking in a second.
I don't know what happened. I wasn't involved. I would not have done that. I was very angry with John McCain because he killed health care. I was not a big fan of John McCain in any way, shape, or form. I think John McCain had a lot to getting President Bush, a lot to do with it, to go into the Middle East, which was a catastrophe. To me, John McCain, I wasn't a fan, but I would never do a thing like that. Now, Somebody did it because they thought I didn't like them, okay? And they were well-meaning, I will say. I didn't know anything about it. I would never have done that.
Why? Couldn't he just say, John and I had our issues, but I would never do that, and move on to the next question? Stop telling the world you didn't like a dead war hero. I didn't like John McCain either, but I wouldn't trash him every time he was mentioned. And the White House staff member telling the Navy to hide a destroyer is not well-meaning. It's bad. It's bad. It's stupid. It makes the White House look petty. The person should be demoted or fired. This is where Trump is going to have to get himself into a lot of trouble. This is what will make him lose the next election. Especially if they decide to impeach him. If they impeach him, he wins. Period. End of story. He's doing a great job. But all you have to do is stop saying and tweeting stupid things. Put that filter. And this is where I agree with Dems. He's a sociopath. There's no question. The guy has no feeling. The guy just does his thing. He doesn't care. There are so good sociopaths out there. There are people. But, oh my Lord. The Democrats will bury themselves with their insane ideas. All he needs to do for the next 2 years is year and a half. It's not even 2 years anymore. Is shut up and let them kill each other. Really? Joe Biden is the one that's leading everything? Oh my God. I'm going to need a cold shower right now because I am hot. It's just this guy, he's got some potential, but he just does such stupid garbage. I was going to say the S word, but Well, here's another thing that I'm not thrilled about, and it was just literally released about an hour ago. And Trump has decided he's going to stick it to Mexico. He wants to protect the border. And the way he's going to protect the border is throw a 5% tariff on all Mexican goods starting June 10th. And if Mexico doesn't get their stuff together in 3 months, he's going to raise that tariff to 10%. Mexico needs to do something about the border. Because they seem to be letting these people in and nobody's stopping them. Okay, I've got a couple of things. Good point. Good point is Mexico's economy is fragile right off the bat. Putting a tariff on things that are coming into us, yes, I think that will really straighten Mexico out. I wouldn't be shocked in the next 11 days or so, Mexico doesn't figure out what they're going to do. Because the Mexico government depends on the United States. That's good. The bad is we're already in a war, a trade war with China. Now you want to get into a trade war with Mexico. I think that is going to be very hard on the United States. Because the United States, even some companies may have figured out, okay, we won't get our stuff from China, we'll get it from Mexico, and now you're taking Mexico out of the thing? Oh, that's bad. I also think Trump doesn't realize that the biggest export, the two top exports for Mexico are human beings and drugs. They get a lot of their stuff illegally. And a tariff on steel, which Mexico doesn't produce a lot, or a tariff on oil, which we already produce more of, is not going to really affect the Mexican government that much. I'm not completely clear where this is going to go. The stock market has tanked today upon hearing the news. I can't blame Trump. This is a huge problem. The courts and the Congress have done nothing to help him with this problem. Let's be honest with you. This whole thing is a Congress problem. Congress makes the laws. Congress is the ones that sign up these laws. They are not doing anything. Trump can only do so much. Executive orders are against the Constitution. They're not good. I don't want President Trump to be King Trump. He should not be doing this stuff. Congress should be figuring out that this is a problem. But Congress doesn't. Even the moderate Democrat Nancy Pelosi doesn't believe it's a real problem. We're going to have to really see how this one's going to work. I really am not sure how it's going to work. I'm really worried for our economy because if our economy takes too much of a hit, the problem is going to be 2020. Because you do not want this economy going into a recession or even a semi-recession. The numbers are really good. But right now, we're in really questionable shape here. So I hope he knows what he's doing. I hope his advisors are helping him out. This isn't good. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at RunninFool. That's RUNNINFEWL. You can also listen to my podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Podcast Addict, and YouTube. I've been having some issues with YouTube, but I figured out what they were. I hope you enjoyed tonight. Have a good night. Probably not going to have a podcast tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. This is Gene, and you're listening to Dumbasses Talking Politics.